welcome back to my channel. I am Alika, aka Alika's Bookish Behavior, and we're just going to jump straight into today's video. Today we are doing my first versus my favorite, which means I'm going to tell you the first book I read by an author, followed by my favorite book that I read by the author. For some of these authors, it might be the same book. Some of these authors, it's going to be different. I am going to tell you a little bit about each book. How much I tell you about the book depends on how my spirit feels led. So let's jump right in. We are starting off with Dandridge Monroe. The first book that I read from her was called Fortunate. It follows Nick, who is a baseball player, and Evangeline, who works in a club. Evangeline has been through some things. Lord bless her heart. And Nick just wants to love on her, but everything she's been through has her like, we're gonna wait it out. This is the first book in her Orphan series. I suggest starting with this if you have not read anything from her. Now, my favorite book by her is The Quarterback's Keeper. This is book 3 in her Desperado series. It follows Grant, who is a football player on the Desperados, and a rapper. I'm not going to tell you any more about this book except for the fact that I love Grant. That's why I mentioned him by name. Absolutely love that man. He's probably one of my favorite mailman characters ever. Definitely check it out. This series is interconnected standalones that can be read in any order. This was actually the first one in that series that I read. I went back and read book 1. Still haven't read book 2, but that's a video for another day. Next up, we have Aubrey Penn. The first book I read from her was The Remnant's Love Left Behind. This book was my favorite by her for a very long time. The love story in this book, chef's kiss, top tier. This is the first book in her Ganton Hills romance series. It is an interconnected-ish standalone. Like, these characters pop back up later, but the stories don't continue across books. I want you guys to know this was my favorite book by that lady for a while. It was only displaced by Maybe for the Summer. She released this book this year, and when I tell y'all, I was looking at the wall for like a week. Like, I couldn't pick anything else up. Nothing else would stick. This book was written so well. One of the things that I know about this book is she was challenged to write it in 30 days. Do y'all see how thick this book is? She wrote all of this in 30 days. Like, in the story, y'all, when I say the story is everything, if you have not read Maybe by the Summer for Aubrey Penn, stop what you're doing and go pick it up. It's an amazing story. It's a rapper, and the FMC had just lost her job for some bullshit. And she ends up going to work for her dad. It's a workplace romance. It's a rapper, like, y'all. And the rollout for this book, Aubrey did her big one with this one. Next, we have Casey Mills. The first book that I read from Casey Mills is Shadows and Whispers. I will, to this day, talk about the mental health rep for Black men in this book. When I say Casey Mills did her biggest one with that, I absolutely loved how she handled bipolar disorder in an African-American man in this book. And now, it doesn't really hurt that this is my favorite trope. It's a marriage of convenience / arranged marriage. And the FMC is a dancer, and she can hold her own too. And we love a strong FMC over here. Love it. Shadows and Whispers is like, it's chef's kiss. The book is amazing. If you haven't read it, do that. Now, I will say, my favorite book by Casey Mills happens to be a novella. It ended on a happy for now. And it wasn't even really a happy for now because I was stuck for months. I would just randomly think back on this book and be devastated, trashed, like could not process life. And that is 24-3. Y'all see, though she be little, she packs a punch. 24-3 gutted me. The story of Carter and McKenna was absolutely beautiful. I read this book October of 2023. I want to say spring of this year is when we got the completion to this story, and it was everything I needed it to be. But 24-3 will always be my favorite. It will always hold a special place in my heart. It was just that good. Next up, we have Christina C. Jones, aka CCJ. The first book I read was Behind the Scenes. This follows Logan and Pierre. And y'all, when I say it is probably my favorite meetup of an FMC and MMC that I've ever read, I talk about it to this day. Like, it is my favorite meetup. It's just, everything about it is just, it's all the feels. It's so precious. And then their love story and just watching the both of them grow and move through this project that they're working on together, it's beautiful. This is a workplace romance. It's so sweet. It's so soft. It's everything. Now, I say all that good stuff, but my favorite CCJ book is Hostile Takeover. It is an arranged marriage slash marriage of convenience. It features an FMC. I'm still, y'all, still trying to figure out how that lady heard billion with a B and still had questions. Like, ma'am, that lady's a billionaire. Why are we asking these questions? He is trying to save your family business, okay? Let him help you. Let him help you. But CCJ's pen can do no wrong in my eyes. This book was everything. If you haven't read House to Take Over, do yourself a favor. It is on audio, Kindle, paperback. Read House to Take Over. Now we are going to Kimberly Brown. The first Kimberly Brown book I read was Beyond Measures. This may or may not be fact. I know this is the first Kimberly Brown book I actually bought in a physical. I'm not 100% sure if it's the first Kimberly Brown book I read. Not going to fact check it. We're going to go with it now. This book was, it's an urban romance. And y'all know all of 2023, your girl was in her urban romance bag, okay? And can we talk about the cover? Like, look at the cover. You see it. You see it. And now, my favorite Kimberly Brown book is The Very Little Player. Y'all, when I say the beginning of this book is going to put me down every time. Hearing Georgia pour out her heart to that man and knowing that at the time he didn't want her the way she wanted him, it's going to take me out every time. I enjoyed watching Walker and Georgia grow because we saw them in book 1 in the series. This is book 3 in the series. They are very much interconnected. You very much have to read them in order. And seeing them grow together and apart across books 1 and 2 to get to their story in 3, this book was everything. And I've said that about all of these books, but this one will always hold a special place in my heart just because you get to watch Georgia like legit stand on business. She made that man feel it in his chest. That man was crying. Like, he was down bad. And I love that for her because she stood on business. She said, you don't want me like I want you, so I'm going to leave. Like, it is what it is. Like, we're fine. Not really, but we're fine. So I'm going to go find somebody who wants me. Like, if you haven't read the Giroux series, definitely do that. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts on Very Little Player. Next up, we have Sky Moon. The first book I read from her is Beast, and it is an urban Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I will shout from the tops of every mountain. It is the best Beauty and the Beast retelling I have ever read. Now, to be fair, I'm very finicky about which Beauty and the Beast retellings I will read because of this book. This is also my favorite book by Sky Moon. This is the first, this is the favorite. I have read some of her other things and they are amazing. Top tier. I would recommend all of them, but this is my favorite. Like this, so basically read Beauty and the Beast, but black. Like, yeah, every time it's gonna eat. And last but certainly not least, we have Asia Monique. The first book I read by Asia was Sinful Vow. And baby, when I tell you, it is an arranged marriage slash marriage of convenience with the mob. Like, we got black men in the mafia. I'm going to eat it up every time. Every time. And the female main character in this book, my good sis was not going to play with the men. She, a female assassin, she wasn't playing with them. Like, she did not come to play, and I absolutely adored it. And as much as I love this book, my favorite book by Asia Monique will, until I don't know when, be And Then Life Was Beautiful. Do y'all see how tabbed up this book is? I have this book in this copy and the special edition, and when I tell you, I don't know what Asia put in this book, but I've read it 3 times. Do y'all see how thick it is? I've read this book 3 times, and it it hits the same every time. It is such a beautiful representation of grief, of love, of growth. Everything about this book is amazing. It is the first book in the series. Book 2 did come out this year. I know that she's working on book 3, but it's not out yet. This this book was beautiful. If you haven't read it, definitely go pick it up and read it. I don't want to tell you too much about what happens, but there are some trigger warnings, and definitely read those before you dive into this book. But this book was so beautifully written. The love story in it was amazing. I highly like this is definitely my favorite book that Asia wrote, not read. So yeah, if you've read any of these, definitely let me know in the comments because I want to know your thoughts and opinions on all of them. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.